Daf Yomi is dedicated for Shmir for the Chayalim, Matzal for Shvuyim, and Yeshua for Am Yisrael. In the Tzitz Tzara, we're going to start on Yud Gimel Amabez, 4 lines from the bottom. The daf for Rosh Chodesh, the first day of Rosh Chodesh Chanukah, is Sanhedrin Yud Daled, but we'll start on the bottom of Yud Gimel Amabez, 13b, 4 lines from the bottom. Nor has just said that in order to give ordination, you need a Beit Din, you need a court of 3. So Gemara asks, "Amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Bar Mzachar Oso Ha'ish Latov." We remember that man for good. Now, even though Oso Ha'ish is usually a phrase that's a pejorative phrase, here it's being used in a positive manner, a positive way. Zachar Oso Ha'ish Latov, and his name was Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. Shomoehu Nishtaku Dine Knessos Misrael, or not for Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, all the laws of Knessos, all the laws of being able to adjudicate punitive damages cases would have been forgotten from Israel. Mar says, what do you mean nishtaku? What do you mean they would have been forgotten? Negro sinu. We'll just study them. We'll do more hours in the base. Ella means batu dine knessos Israel. We would have lost the ability to adjudicate punitive damages cases. Because you need to have smicha in order to do that. And we're not for Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. The whole concept of smicha, which is ordination of a rabbi, but going back as a chain, as a link, going back to Moshe Rabbeinu, all of that would have been lost. Shapam ma'achas gazor malchus harsha gezer Yisrael. We're studying this on Rosh Chodesh Chanukah. This is the phrase that reminds us of the Yuvanim, that there was the wicked kingdom, malchus harsha, the wicked kingdom, which tried to cancel out Torah study, was also trying to cancel out ordination. And because they understood that what makes the people Jewish people Jewish is the chain of tradition going back to Sinai. So they made a ruling that whoever whoever grants ordination will be killed. Whoever receives ordination will be killed. And the city in which the ordination takes place will be destroyed. And the area in which the smicha takes place, the tchum, that will be destroyed. So what did Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava do? Or it says here in the Gemara, Yehuda ben Bava, but what did we know? Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, what did he do? He sat between 2 mountains, which can't be destroyed. You can't destroy a mountain. And between 2 large cities, between 2 areas of Shabbos, Usha Shafram, and he gave ordination there to 5 elders. And who are these 5 elders? Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Elazar ben Shemua. Ravavia Mosif Af Rabbi Nechemia. Ravavia added on Rabbi Nechemia. So Kivan Shi Kiroi Veyam, once the enemies recognized what was going on, Amalam Banai Rutsu, Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava said to his students, my children, run. Amalam Rabbi Matei Alecha. They said, Rabbi, what is going to happen to you? Amalam Areni Mutalaf Nam Ke'evan She'en Lahof. He says, I'm going to be standing here like a stone that can't be turned. And the way I read that is that he says, don't worry, I'm not going to tell them who you are or where you are. They said that Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava didn't move before they shot him up with 300 iron spears or arrows. They turned them into like a sieve. So we see from here that Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava was just appointing them, giving them ordination as just 1 judge. So how can you say you need 3 judges? So the Gemara says, Kishmak, Chodesh Tov, Chanukah Sameach. So the Gemara says, we're on Yudal Amud Aleph, around 15 lines in the top. So the answer is, how was Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava able to do it? He had another person with him. And because he was another person with him, therefore, therefore he had two others with him, and therefore it wasn't him by himself. He had three people. The reason why they didn't count Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, they didn't count the other two judges, Mishum Kavodo de Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba. They were giving him honor. Mar says for Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba, somehow was Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba the one who gave the ordination to Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yochanan, Omer Rabbi Meir, Omer Rabbi Meir was Samchu Rabbi Akiva, Inu Ko Omer Rabbi Meir was Samchu Rabbi Akiva, Inu Toa. Whoever says that Rabbi Meir was not ordained by Rabbi Akiva is making a mistake. So we see that Rabbi Meir got the ordination not from Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, but from Rabbi Akiva. So the Gemara says Rabbi Akiva, Samchai Rabbi Akiva v'ol kibul, Samchai Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava kibul. Rabbi Akiva tried to give him the ordination, but he didn't accept it. It doesn't say why in the Gemara why he didn't accept it, but some of the commentaries say it's because he didn't accept it because he wasn't married yet. But then Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava gave him the smicha and accepted it. I'm Rabbi Shimon Levi, ain't smicha b'chutz haaretz. There is no ordination outside the land of Israel. What does this mean? My ain't smicha. What does it mean? If you want to say it means that they can't judge these punitive damages cases outside of Israel. Sanhedrin no heges, the Sanhedrin can practice in Israel and outside of Israel. We don't grant ordination outside of Israel. Well, so the Gemara says, well, pshita. Okay, if that's the statement that we don't grant ordination outside of Israel, it's obvious that if the person granting the ordination is outside of Israel and the person who's receiving it is in Israel, we said that that's not acceptable. It means, but if the person granting the ordination is in Israel and the one receiving it is outside of Israel, what will be the case? Meaning to say, there's two ways to understand this question. Can you receive the ordination from somebody who's in Israel, even though you're outside of Israel? Or the way Rashi seems to understand it is, can you grant long distance ordination, or do you need to have to be right next to the person? So the Gemara says, Tashman Rabbi Yochanan have mitzvah to Rav Shimon bar Abba. So the Gemara says we have a teaching that Rabbi Yochanan was upset that Rav Shimon bar Abba was not next to him, so he can give him ordination. We see that the person receiving ordination has to be right next to him. Can't do it on the Zoom. Rabbi Shimon ben Zirud v'chad imei umana Rabbi Yochanan ben Achmai v'amrei Rabbi Yonasan ben Achmai v'chad imei umana Rabbi Shimon ben Zirud chad avegabei samchu v'chad lo avegabei lo samchu. One who was next to him, he gave him the smicha, and the one who was not next to him, he didn't give the smicha. Rabbi Chanina Rabbi Oshaya v'kamishtaked Rabbi Yochanan l'masmachinu. Rabbi Yochanan wanted to give the ordination to Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Oshaya. It wasn't working. He was very upset. He said, don't be upset that you weren't able to give us ordination because we're from the house of Eli, and therefore it's not going to work. So first of all, why wasn't he able to give them ordination? So Rashi seems to say that it's because he couldn't find two others to join with him, and he needed three. But I was also thinking that maybe it's because he was afraid, because it was the time of the decree. They were making decrees that it wasn't going to work. Anyway, they said that they were from the house of Eli, and so therefore they couldn't get ordination. How do we know you don't get ordination in the house of Eli? And it says, there will not be an elder in your house all the days. That was a curse Shmuel made on the house of Eli because they were corrupt in the Beis Hamikdash. So my zaken, you think it just means an actual older person? That already says it in the pasuk. V'aksiv kol. It says in the pasuk kol marbis beisla yamusu hanashim. It already says that they're going to die young. But Rashi tells us, we learned in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, even though they were decreed that they were going to die young, you could extend your life by doing Torah and Gemilas Chasadim. Ella must be that this pasuk says, "Oh yes, zakein beveisla," first is smicha. first to ordination, that they will not be ordained. Rabbi Zera was hiding from ordination. You should always be somebody who is kabel v'kiyim. Hold on 1 second. So what does that mean, kabel v'kiyim? So kabel v'kiyim means, Rashi says, afel means dark, meaning to be humble, v'kiyim. And that way you'll be able to live, tichya, meaning to say, keep yourself, Rashi says, keep yourself high away, take yourself distance from the Rabbanos. Shemekabera says, bow out. Take yourself distance away from the rabbinate or authority, because that buries its owners. Meaning to say, don't be a rabbi, don't be in position of leadership, because that's going to be very bad for you. Given the Shamalah, but then Rabbi Zera heard, you see throughout Shas, sometimes it's Rabbi Zera, sometimes it's Rav Zera. So once he heard, Amar Rabbi Lazar, and when he becomes the leader, all of his previous sins are forgiven. So then he strove to try to become ordained. So you see, when a person becomes the leader of the people, he gets a pardon. So when they sang for Rabbi Zera, when Rabbi Zera was ordained, they gave him a song. They sang for him, so they sang he doesn't need these different types of makeup. Kachal is for the eyes, Shirak is for the face, and Pirchos is for the hair. These are the typical songs that they would sing for a bride. They're saying she's so beautiful, she doesn't need any makeup. And so that was also what was being sung for Rabbi Zera. He's so handsome. And it's that we learn from here, the rabbi is supposed to try and present himself in a positive way. So when they gave ordination to Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, they sang for him as follows: Kol Mendain, Semucha Anu. All these people are worthy to get smicha, lo tismuchu anu, lo mi sarmitin, lo mi sarmisin. Don't give ordination to us from those people that don't know how to explain their words. That's the sarmitin. There's a lot of different explanations of each of these words. Both sarmitin, these are people that don't explain their words. Sarmisin, these are people who say everything backwards. These are people that don't explain the Torah, they say it too quickly. And these are from empty people. Some people say sarmitin is like a shmata, that they're don't give the people who are treated like a shmata, like a rag. Rabbi Avo came from the yeshiva to the Caesar's house. Nafki matroniso de Bekezer. Then the women of the house came out to Misharian way, Rabba da Ame, and they sang from as follows: Rabba da Ame, the principal of the president of his people, the leader of his people, Madbarana de Umte, the leader of his nation, Putzina de Nahora, the light of that illuminates. Baruch Masiach Lishlam. Blessed is your coming in peace. Obviously, there's a lot to study about here, both spiritually and historically, and I don't want to come back to it and do it in depth. So now the Gemara says that there is the next line of the Mishnah says that Rifas Egla Vishlosha, that the breaking of the heifer's neck is with 3. Then what is this? This is the ritual of Egla Rufa, that if there is a dead body found murdered outside the city, the elders of the city are supposed to measure and go to the closest city, and then they have to go into the wadi, Nachal, and break the neck of a calf, an eglah, and say, our hands are not spilled this blood, the blood of the murdered man. This is this week's parsha that Rashi says that Yosef sent agalot, he sent wagons to his father, because the last passage that they were studying together before Yosef went was sold was eglah rufa. It's the idea of responsibility. And we'll see from here that if there's a dead body found outside the city, it's the responsibility of even the Sanhedrin to take responsibility for it. And we'll see now. The Eglah Rufa is with 3. That's according to the position of Rabbi Shimon, but Rabbi Yehuda says it's with 5. Tan Rabbanan Yatsu v'Yatsu Zikinecha v'Shovtecha Zikinecha is Shnayim is 2, Shovtecha is Shnayim is 2, Ve'im Bezin Shakam Mosifin Lein Orecha. That's how we get to 5. Arika Chamisha Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says Zikinecha is Shnayim Ve'im Bezin Shakam Mosifin Lein Orecha. Arika Rabbi Shimon says 3. But what does Rabbi Shimon have Shovtecha Mayav? What does he do with the word Shovtecha? Only by the way. He says this refers to you have to have the best one, which is the Sanhedrin go out. Rabbi Yehuda means ziknei zikinecha. It could have said ziknei, but it said zikinecha. We see from here it's the Sanhedrin. Rabbi Shimon means ziknei av. I mean it's ziknei ashuk. If we just said ziknei, I could have thought any elders. Because the Rahman is zikinecha. The iksiv zikinecha. If it just said zikinecha av, I mean it's Sanhedrin katana. That is those who are in the court of 23. Because the Rahman of vishovtecha. From the best of your judges. Rabbi Yehuda Gamar Ziknei mi v'samchu Ziknei Aida as Hidayim. How does Rabbi Yehuda know it's the Sanhedrin? He says we compare it to where the elders place their hands on the Paro Am Davar Shel Tzibur. Malo Am Yuchad Shemei. But just like there, it's the Sanhedrin. Avkam Yuchad Sheba Zikinecha. Also here Sanhedrin. Well, Gemara says if once you're learning it out from the Paro Am Davar Shel Tzibur. But if Kulmi also learn out from everything from there, that you also need 5 judges from there, 5 people to participate. So therefore, why don't you learn out everything from there? So why do you need the psukim here at all? So the Gemara says, Zikinecha v'shovtecha amalei. So why would you need Zikinecha v'shovtecha here at all? Vav v'shovtecha l'minyana. So Rabbi Yehuda says the Vav of v'shovtecha teaches us 5. The Rabbi Shimon Vav lo darash. She doesn't expound that. Al me'ata v'yatu shnayim u'madadu shnayim Rabbi Yehuda arei teacher. Rabbi Yehuda should have 9. Rabbi Shimon Shiva, he should have 7. From v'yatu u'madadu. Only by Tanya. No, we need that because of the following brayso. Hein v'lo shluchan. They need to go out. They can't send out officers of the court to measure it. U'madadu, and they have to do this measurement. Shafilu nimtza ba'alil. Even if he's found, and it's very clear exactly where the murderer is, which city is closer to, they still have to measure it. The commentaries say on the Torah, it's to make a whole tumult. And everybody sees what's going on. Maybe the murderer will be found. Saracha sok b'medida. They need to be engaged in the medida. They need to be engaged. So that's so the Gemara says masnisin the loka aitana. Our Mishnah that says that the medida needs to be done through the Sanhedrin alone. And you don't need any other people, just the Sanhedrin. It's not like a following author. The Tanya, we went in the Bright. So Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer v'yatzu zikinecha v'shovtecha zikinecha zu Sanhedrin. Zikinecha is the Sanhedrin according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. But here, now listen in. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says if you find a dead body on the outskirts of the town, not only does the Sanhedrin have to go out v'shovtecha zemelech the Kohen Gadol v'shovtecha is the king and the high priest. So you get everyone going out. Melech Tersev, Melech B'mishpat Yamid Aretz, that the Melech B'mishpat Yamid Aretz, and Kohen Gadol, because it says Uvasal Kohanim Ve'Lavim Ve'Ashofet. So therefore, that's how we know it needs to be everyone. So the Gemara says, Yibayu, Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, Bechada Polig or B'tarti Polig. Rebbe Elazar ben Yaakov, does he argue with the authors of our Mishnah in one area or in 2 areas? Does he argue with them only that it needs to be also a Melech and a Kohen Gadol? Or does he also argue with them that there needs to be the entire Sanhedrin, where our Mishnah says either 3 or 5 judges? So, Polig b'Melech and Kohen Gadol. Polig, Aval b'Sanhedrin, Yikreb Yehuda, Yikreb Shimon. Odoma b'Sanhedrin, Nami Polig. Does the author argue and say he required the whole Sanhedrin? Number Cool Sanhedrin Banina. So Amar Yosef Tashma. We have a teaching from a brayso about a Zaki Mamre, a rebellious elder. What's a rebellious elder? He is somebody who's worthy to be on the Sanhedrin. And he hears a ruling from the Sanhedrin, and he still rules in his own way and disregards their ruling. That's called a rebellious elder. He just ignores the ruling of the high court. So such a person is executed. So the Gemara says, but we have a ruling about that. Matzana base pagi. Let's say you find the Sanhedrin was in the base Pagi. This is somewhere outside of the Lishkas Hagazis. The Sanhedrin sat in the hewn chamber on the Temple Mount, and the base Pagi was not 100% clear. There's a dispute in the Gemara elsewhere where exactly it is. Is it in Jerusalem? Is it on the Temple Mount itself, but not on the Lishkas Hagazis? But anyway, the Zaki Mamre found them there. Himralan, and he continued to do his rebelliousness. I might think that that's considered a rebellion. No, where does the rebellion have to take place? Only in the place. That he's only going to be chayev as a Zaki Mamre if their ruling came from the actual place of the Sanhedrin. But if they were outside of the Sanhedrin when they gave their ruling, then he's not going to be chayev for being a Zaki Mamre. Now, the Gemara asked the question, how many of them went out? And it can't be that just a portion of them went out, because Dilma, Hanoch, the Ika Gavai, Kaime Kavase, because maybe the ones who were back in the Sanhedrin and the Lishkas Hagazis would have agreed with him and he wouldn't be a rebellious elder. Al Pshita did not cool. It must have been that all of them went out. Now, why would they have gone out? If you want to say they went out like on a tiyul, it can't be. When they're in session, they can't go out on a tool, as it states in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim. And the sages learned from this. We're going to get to this, God willing, in Daf Lamed Zayin, that the Sanhedrin is not allowed to go out for a discretionary activity unless they leave behind 23 people. So it must be El Pshita. So it must be, it's obvious they went out for a Dvar mitzvah. Now, what was a mitzvah? Isn't it that they went out for the measure for the Eglah Rufa? And we see from here, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, who's the position that you require the whole Sanhedrin to go out for the measurement of the Eglah Rufa? Must be Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. Tamar Kuli Sanhedrin Banina. We need the entire Sanhedrin. No. No, they didn't go out to measure the city, but rather they went out. They didn't go out to measure for the Eglah Rufa. They went out to add on to the city. They had to go out to add on to Jerusalem or to the courtyard of the temple, and that you need the entire Sanhedrin, because it's not. You're only allowed to add on, annex further parts of the city and further parts of the temple if you have a court of 71. Tanya Kavasi de Rav Yosef. If we have indeed a price like Rav Yosef, Matzana base Pagi, Himra, and can go into Yatzal, Medido, it's Egla, Hosef al Ir Valazaros, Yachol Shetahei, Amrasa, Amrat, Hamor, Rakamta Moisa, Makam Shah, Lame Shah, Al Makam, Lame Shah, Makam Gorim. And so we see from here that the the Bryce says if he rebelled against him, not in the place, he's potter. But anyway, we see from this Bryce, like Rav Yosef, that the measurement of the Eglah Rufa, you need all 71 judges, and it's proved from that price. And this is the position of Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. So he argues, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov argues with authors of remission in two areas. He says you also need the king and the high priest, and you also need the full Sanhedrin. So now we say, Neter Avayu Meiser Sheni, so Neteravai, if the fruit that needs to go to Jerusalem in its fourth year, and the Meiser Sheni, who the secondary tithe, and you don't know the exact value, you need a quart of 3. Tan Rabbanon Edu Meiser Sheni Sheni Dam of you doing. What is this Meiser Sheni that you don't know its value? Why wouldn't you know its value? And that's the basic question. Of course, everybody can look at the apple and know how much an apple's worth. We're saying, no, we're talking about perush or kivu, talking about fruits that are already rotting, the yayin shehikrim, wine souring, umosh is shechidu, the money is beginning to be rubbed out. And Tan Rabbana, Meiser Sheni, Sheni Dam you do, and Podin B'Shlosh L'Kuchos. You redeem this Meiser Sheni with 3 L'Kuchos. L'Kuchos are either get 3 buyers, or it means 3 experts to determine the price. But not 3 people that aren't l'kuchos. Even one non-Jew can be amongst them, because you're just determining the price. It's not halachic. You're basically just determining the price. Even one of them is the owner of the fruits. He could be part of the determination. Let's say the 3 are really partners. They're putting in one person's pocket. What's the law? Mashma ish shtei nashim podem meiser sheni shein dam avidun. When we see even a man could do with his two wives, they could do enough to redeem the money. No, that doesn't mean anything. The Dilma could go and Rav Papa Ubas Abba Sarah. Maybe they have separate bank accounts, like Rav Papa and the daughter of Abba Sarah. We know Rav Papa was a businessman, but he was also married to a very wealthy woman. She had her own business, and therefore the fact that they're married to each other doesn't mean that they all have the same wallet. But that's not a proof to that. Like Deishos Beshlosha, if you want to redeem items for the temple, you need a cord of 3. Our Mishnah is now like the following, Bryce. The Tanya, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, and feel tzinura. That's like a basically either it's a spinner or it's like a piece of wood, a small piece of wood, very insignificant tool. You need 10 people even to evaluate that. Makes sense. We understand. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov requires 10 because it says the word Kohen 10 times with respect to redemption of Hekdeshos in that passage in the Torah. But the Rabbanon say 3. Where do they get it from? If you want to say it says 3 times in the passage of redemption of a non-kosher animal, the word Kohen, if that's the case, Karkos, Tiksivu Arba, real estate should require 4, but our mission says real estate is 10. The land is 9 and a Kohen. But what does it mean? What's the reason why you require 10 men with redemption of the real estate? That what's the reason? Because in the passage of the redemption of the real estate, the word Kohen it concludes with 10 times the word Kohen. And we already said 3 Kohanim in the passage of Erechim, and 3 times says Kohanim in the passage of redemption of the animal. And so 4 times with the Kohanim, that comes to 10. If that's the case, by the passage of redemption of the animal, then you get to 6. So you should require at least 6 judges or 6 Kohanim. So Gemara says, Kasha, it's difficult. Okay, so we did a lot of items very, very quickly, but there's a lot going on here. A beautiful daf, Chodesh Tov, a very beautiful daf.